everyone, welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we are going to be making this awesome hanging planter, and it only takes about 10 minutes to make. And this is part of our Mother's Day 2-skein challenge where we see how many projects we can make with only 2 skeins of yarn. If you're following along with me, then you're going to want to make 2 of these. For this project, you're going to need a 15mm crochet hook and some size 4 medium weight yarn. And if you don't have a 15mm crochet hook, because it is quite large, just go ahead and grab the largest one that you have. To get started, we're just going to attach the yarn to our crochet hook, and then we're going to chain 1. From here, what we're going to do is we are going to work in this back bump back here. So this isn't actually part of your stitch, this V portion up here, but if you turn it over, it is this back loop back here. In this back loop, we're going to place 6 single crochets. And it might be a little bit tough at first to work with such a big crochet hook, but you'll get used to it. Once you have your 6 single crochets in place, what we're going to do is we're going to place 2 single crochets in each of those 6 single crochets. And this first one can get kind of small, so I kind of have to make sure that I'm actually inserting my hook in it by counting one more time just to make sure. So once you've found your first stitch, go ahead and place 2 single crochets inside of it. And then you're just going to continue placing 2 single crochets in each stitch across until you get to the end of your row, and you should have 12 single crochets. Once you have your 12 single crochets in place, it should look something like this. And if you're using a smaller crochet hook, it might be a good idea to place one more increasing row. To do that, all you need to do is place 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and go ahead and follow that pattern all the way around until you have 18 single crochets in your row. And once you're done increasing, whether you ended at 12 or 18 stitches, all you're going to want to do is place 1 single crochet in each stitch across for the rest of your row. And for me, with my large crochet hook, I'm going to have a total of 8 rows that look like that. If you're using a smaller crochet hook, you might have to play with a little bit of trial and error to see how many rows you need. And to keep up with your rows, you can either use a stitch marker or you can just count your stitches. So for me, I'm just going to count out 96 stitches. And once you have your 8 rows or 96 stitches, it should look something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place a slip stitch around the front post of my next stitch. So not this front post, but this one back here. So I'm just going to insert my hook around that front post, and I'm just going to place a slip stitch. From here, I'm just going to tie off my yarn. So from here, what you're going to want to do is cut 4 strands of yarn. And these strands can be long or short depending on how far you want your plant hanger to hang down. But no matter what you do, just make sure that they're all 4 the same length. And keep in mind that these are going to be cut in half. So whatever length you want, double it, and that should be the length of your strand. So what we're going to do is work this one strand at a time. So go ahead and grab one of your strand ends here and just insert the end through one of the loops like this and kind of pull it off to the side. And then you're going to grab the other end, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to loop over and pull through the next loop. So kind of like this. So you're just going over and around. You're going to go over and around the next loop and then one more time. This time when you go over and around, you're just going to pull it up and pull it through like that. So a total of 4 loops per strand like this. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to start your next strand with this last loop here. So the last loop that you pulled your strand up through, and you're going to go ahead and insert one of the ends into that one. Then you're going to grab your other tail and just loop it over and around the next 3 loops. 1, 2, and on that third one, just pull it up and set it to the side. So go ahead and repeat that process with your next 2 strands. And don't forget that your slip stitch counts as a stitch. So if you get to the end and it doesn't add up, make sure you've included your slip stitch there. And once you get done with that, then you're just going to want to kind of pull these somewhat tight, not too tight, but just enough that they're taut. And then you're going to want to straighten out your strands. And then you're going to try to clean up any of these links that are different. And once you've gotten your ends to relatively the same size, you want to do that same thing again. So pull these so that they're taut. And then you're just going to want to knot them at the end here. And just make sure that they're all included in that. Next, what you're going to want to do is open this up, and then you're going to slide your mason jar in it. And I'm just using a tinted mason jar because I like the way it looks with soil in it, but you can use whatever color you want. And just keep in mind that if you're working with hydroponics, then you don't want any algae to grow, so you want to keep it away from the sunlight, and this unfortunately will not prevent sunlight from coming in. So from here, what I'm doing is I'm just stretching this up the mason jar as much as I can, and what I'm going to try to do is get it up over this lip here. So somewhere in this groove area is kind of where we want this to sit. And when you're done, it should look something like this. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were trying to make this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.